Hello. This is your boy Brandon Correia, aka Ear Fountain of Entertainment, and we are back with another review. And the review we got today is House of the Dragon episode 6 review. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, House of the Dragon reviews, Rings of Power review, Andor review, She-Hulk review, all those big name IPs to come, reviews for those, trailer reactions, entertainment news updates. If you're interested in content like that, subscribe to the Brandon Correia Network. You will not regret it. So let's get into this House of the Dragon episode 6. Now I'm going to start off by saying, like I've been saying for the rest of the episodes, this show is so fucking good, honestly, and it keeps getting better. This episode, though, it kind of slowed in pace where things were building, and it kind of hit that crescendo of the event that happened at the wedding last episode. But with this episode, it was kind of like a slow build. It was the longest episode that we've gotten so far. It was like an hour and 8 minutes. A lot of substance in it, and a lot went on in this episode. And in my last review, I was actually getting some comments from people because I was mentioning that because I knew the time jump was coming, that I was going to have to get used to the characters, to the world again, in a sense, and to just how things are going. And someone left a comment, and I wonder if they're going to watch this again. But you can't tell me that watching this episode, you didn't have to stop and familiarize yourself with everything. Because I was Googling character names because they literally introduced like not even like way more characters, but everybody had kids. Daemon had kids, and I'm gonna get into everybody, all the storylines. But Daemon had kids, Rhaenyra had kids, Alicent had kids. Everybody got kids. So there was, and like 3 of them too, not just 2, 2 or 3 kids. So it's like there is a lot of new characters to just have to learn their names and just and familiarize yourself with, because they're going to be characters that play pivotal roles going forward. And not only kids, there was we were introduced more to like Harwin Strong, and just other Larys Strong had more screen time. Like there was just other characters that, because of the time jump, other characters kind of took the place of characters that were taking more screen time, say, that were more prevalent per se 10 years ago. So Christian Cole, because he was with Rhaenyra more, was more prominent on the show. Now that he's guarding the queen, we see that Harwin Strong kind of gets half of the screen time. And I'm not just basing it on screen time, but I'm saying like story wise and just who it's focused on. It's focused on a lot more different characters because the story is placed in a different time. So that's why when that individual left the message on my video about, yo, I think you're making it harder than it needs to be, it's not like I was sitting there like, oh my god, it's gonna be so difficult. I was just saying, like, because I was in a flow and a feel of the show already, this 10-year time jump, it was a little bit of a speed bump, and nobody could tell. Because me personally, I'm gonna speak for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan so far of the new portrayal of Rhaenyra and Alicent. And I could be bugging. There's going to be episodes to come. We're going to get more familiar with these characters. But from the jump, from episode 1, young Rhaenyra, I really enjoyed that actress and how she embodied that character. Alicent, I wasn't the biggest fan of in the beginning, but as the show went along, and by the end of episode 5, her walking in with the green dress power move, I absolutely love Alicent, like, in that moment. So now that it is a different actress, like for instance, it's 10 years, but Christian Cole is still the same, or there's still a lot of characters that are still the same. They're the only two, and I lie, they're not the only two, because Laena was another one that had a time jump. But Laena, there was young Laena, then there was like the teenage Laena that was at the wedding, and then there was Laena that we saw in episode 6. So she wasn't there that much for us to kind of really get used to in all of her age ranges, right? We had young Rhaenyra and young Alicent from the very beginning. So having these 2 different actresses, it's gonna take a bit of time. That's all I was saying. All I was trying to say was it's gonna take a bit of time to get used to these 2 actresses. But from this initial introduction, I'm having a hard time, I guess, connecting with these characters from jump. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really feeling, and I like Olivia Cook, don't get it twisted, but I'm not really feeling her Alicent Hightower as much, right? Because Alicent is like a noble and honest character. So when she has to like kind of get in the dirty side a bit, you see that it really bothers her. And I'm gonna get into it, but when you see that her kind of decision and morals are tested a bit at the end, you see that it really affects her character. But But to me, you were able to see that with young Alicent, and I just, for some reason, to me, the young actress that played Alicent was able to portray that idea of her being damaged and destroyed by her having to like compromise her morals. Young Alicent really kind of conveyed that to me. So obviously I'm loving the show and what's going on in the show, like the story and the plot, which I'm gonna get into. But I just wanted to mention the change in the actresses of our two of our main. I know there's a lot of protagonists, but Rhaenyra and Alicent are probably two of like the top 5 main protagonists in the show. So having them completely kind of change in this time jump is gonna take some getting used to, but I'm still loving the show. So let's get into it. Now, this episode had a lot of births, and I know that may sound a little weird to sound, but I know the second one didn't go as planned, and I'm gonna get into it. But we started off this episode with Rhaenyra giving birth to her 3rd son, right? Because it is a 10-year jump, so 3rd son. And as soon as the son is born, we see the queen summon the baby, and the queen's like, I want to see the baby. And instantly I was like, I already knew where that was going. I'm like, yo, this girl wants to see if the baby even looks like the dad, which we know from episode 5, Rhaenyra marries Laenor Velaryon. Even after the whole wedding incident, they had a little ceremony at the end of episode 5 and still got married. So yeah, the queen is like, no, I want to see that baby. I want to see if it actually looks like the son. Summons him. Rhaenyra goes up, sees that the son doesn't look like Laenor, throws shade at Laenor, you know, maybe one of these days they'll look like you. I was like dying, like jaw dropped, because bare shade being thrown. And we see the queen even bring this up to the king, and the king is like, this is a major accusation, like let's get past this. And you obviously see that the king doesn't want to kind of accept this idea about his daughter. And not even that, I guess he doesn't want to compromise like the peace and the things that he's built over the years. So he just wants to kind of keep things calm and at the status quo. And after this whole scene and interaction happens between the queen and Rhaenyra, we see Rhaenyra return back to her room with the baby, with Laenor there, but we see Harwin Strong, the hand of the king's son, right? So there's Larys and there's Harwin. So Larys is the one with the cane that has a hard time walking. And then Harwin was obviously like the bigger one that saved Rhaenyra in episode 5 when she was kind of like, when the brawl was happening and she was on the ground, and then Harwin obviously went into the crowd, picked her up over her shoulder, obviously spiced her. And yo, honestly, Rhaenyra be just too giddy about sleeping with her knights, you know, because it clearly be backfiring and just ending up getting mans in trouble. So she needs to not be dealing with her knights that are straight just protecting her anymore, because she keeps getting them men in trouble. That was just a little side note I had to get in. But we see that Harwin Strong is in the room with them, and we're getting the vibe, like from the way the sons look, like they're really portraying that Harwin Strong is the father. So you're getting that vibe from jump. And later on, there's actually a scene where Christian Cole is actually training Aegon, Aemond, and I can't remember Rhaenyra's sons' names, but both of them. So Christian Cole was basically training for the boys. And when I mentioned that they introduced a lot of characters, there was a lot of kids. From Viserys's and Alicent's kid, there was Aegon, Aemond, and I think Helena was the daughter's name. And then there's 3 sons now from Rhaenyra and Harwin. We know Harwin Strong, right? So Christian Cole's training them, and Harwin Strong comes out onto like the training area, and we see that Christian Cole's paying more attention to Aegon and Aemond. Obviously, he's closer to Alicent, who's not really feeling Rhaenyra anymore, so obviously doesn't want anything to do with those kids. So he's paying more attention to Aegon and Aemond, and we see Harwin Strong basically be like, yo, how about you pay more attention? You pay attention to everybody that you're training. So he's like, yeah, okay, Aegon, fight Rhaenyra's oldest. So it was like oldest against oldest. Aegon obviously mops the floor with this guy. We see Harwin grab Aegon and toss him, and we see Christian Cole be like, you know, you just put your hands on a prince. And even me, I was like, yo, this guy's brave though, because like that, like really, like, yo, like off with his head kind of behaviors, right? And Christian Cole kind of like calls him out in a sense, and he's like, you only usually see that kind of affection for someone that's like a cousin or like a nephew or like a son. And we see Harwin Strong obviously snap, punch Christian Cole, and he's like ground and pounding him over top of him, boom, boom. Honestly, gonna keep going till he kills him, and knights come out and stop him. And we see Christian Cole be like, yeah, I thought so, because you know what I mean, giving that impression, because obviously him and the queen have been talking that Harwin Strong is the father of Rhaenyra's 3 boys, right? So there's just a lot of like these rumors just swirling swirling and swirling. And we even see like a council meeting where Rhaenyra is like, obviously they're debating moves on what they should do out there conquering lands and stuff. But there's a point where you see Rhaenyra's getting kind of desperate and she offers an olive branch to Alicent. It's basically like, like we, what I mean? I know all these things have been going around, but we've been friends for so long. Like I want to have a marriage between my son and Helena. We see Viserys be like, awesome. Like, yo, what a awesome, like judicious decision. Like that's good ruling decision, Rhaenyra. I like that. Making our house as strong and solidified. And we see Rhaenyra be like, if there's another dragon egg that comes, Aemon could have it. So there's just offering more olive branches to kind of ease what's going on. And we see Alicent be like, yeah, like I'll take it into consideration and we'll think about it. So because Rhaenyra gets that vibe from Alicent, she basically decides to be like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done here. I'm leaving. Because obviously she doesn't really have to be there until Viserys passes and then she has to come in and rule. So she could go to a different location. So she chooses Dragonstone and she's probably just going to be there until Viserys passes. And even speaking of that, just a little side note, I'm really surprised in this 10-year jump that Viserys is still alive. I did not know that they were going to have him still involved. The way he was decaying and just constantly falling further and further into a worse physical state, I thought for sure he was kicking the bucket this episode, but nope, he's still kicking, walking. It looks like he lost like a hand, like his whole hand that was kind of decaying is gone, but he's kicking nonetheless. But getting back to the whole succession, so we see Rhaenyra basically go with Laenor. She's like, Laenor, you could bring your boy toy, just come true, like let's dip, let's take the boys, because obviously she's feeling the heat about who's the kid's father. And Laenor wanted to go off into battle, but she was like, you're not gonna leave now, because if you leave while all these rumors are going on, it's definitely gonna make it seem like you're not the father. So she was like, I command you to stay. So he ends up actually staying, and like she was like, because like he actually was listening to her, she was like, yo, bring your boy toy. So the end shot was them ending at Dragonstone. We see Rhaenyra, the boys, Laenor, his boy toy, and all like these other people come with them to Dragonstone, right? But I didn't even get into the other storylines. So that was obviously the main stuff, because obviously King's Landing and the throne is the main focus. And sorry, a point that I want to mention about the King's Landing storyline was because of the incident in the courtyard with Harwin Strong, and that rumor kind of being further fueled with the Hand of the King and Viserys right there. We see the Hand of the King actually go to Viserys and be like, like my son has cast a shadow with all these rumors, and like I don't see like I'm fit anymore. And he's actually been like a loyal person, because you see that he's been there and he's kicking. And we see Viserys be like, I don't even want to accept your resignation. Like, you've actually served the realm like so honest. Like there's like this isn't happening. And Viserys is like, if you're resigning, like I want a reason as to why. And like Alicent's there and she's like, yeah, say it in plain, in like clear language. And he's like, I can't do it. So then he's like, I don't accept your resignation then. So then he was like, okay, well, I want my son to go back to like where we come from, and he's just gonna rule over there for now. So we see them go back, and we also, while this is going on, we see that Alicent is actually meeting with Larys, and Larys is kind of plotting Larys Strong, which is his other son, is plotting himself. And we see that he ends up going to like a prison and freeing like murderers and rapists to kind of like do their dirty work, and he kind of cuts off their tongue so they can't say nothing, obviously. And we see that he's kind of organizing this group of just like underground whisperer people like Littlefinger had, right? But just like more severe, because they're actually out there doing like deadly shit and committing murders. Because we see them basically light the castle on fire where Harwin and Lionel Strong went back to. They lit the whole castle on fire, and we see them carrying bodies out, and it's kind of like it kind of signaled that they were killed. We saw that like flaming beams fell on top of Harwin Strong, and that's how it cut away, and we saw people taking out burnt bodies. Don't get me wrong, the bodies didn't look like Lionel Strong's body, so I'm wondering if somehow they survived, but it looked like they died. And Larys was like, and in the scene at the end where Larys was talking to Alicent, basically explaining that they're no longer around, like you don't have to worry about that, and when the time comes, like I know you'll reward me, basically kind of foreshadowing that he wants to be Hand of the King so that he could have way more influence, and that because of all this, unless like he wants it to get out that she ordered him to do this, you're gonna have to reward me, blackmailing her basically. And you see her just devastated. And this is what I meant by her portraying that like I'm gonna have to compromise like who I am in that character of myself, but I just felt like Alicent, the younger Alicent, did a really good job at portraying that a little bit better. And again, maybe the rest of the episodes will come out and I'll grow to appreciate Olivia Cook's Alicent Hightower a little bit more. But yeah, that's all the points on the King's Landing storyline that I really wanted to mention. The other stuff that was going on was there was some Daemon stuff, a lot more Daemon stuff in this episode as a whole that we got in other episodes. Other episodes, we would get him briefly. This episode, we kind of sat with him a little longer. We see that he did marry Lena, which is Rhaenyra Valerian's younger sister. And we saw them flirting at the wedding in episode 5. So they end up getting married. They have 2 daughters, and Lena's pregnant with another one on the way. So this is what I mean about bare kids and bare new characters. But we see that they're traveling and they're actually in Pentos or Essos or just somewhere closer to like Dorne, just on that other part of the world away from King's Landing, right? I couldn't remember exactly where they were when they were having that meeting, but there was the person that was hosting them that was like, we'll offer you this whole house, you'll have all these lands and all this stuff they're offering them if you stay here and complete like our partnership. We hear later on that the Triarchy has made a partnership with the Dornish people, with the people of Dorne, and they were asking Daemon to basically be like, to complete that partnership and be like, you have dragons, we have all of this stuff, complete this partnership and we'll be mad powerful, basically. Honestly, like, it shows, and he honestly thinks about it, because with this 10-year time gap, to me, it's showing that Daemon has matured a little bit. And I think that's why they chose to sit with him a little bit. Because before, when they were just sitting with him in brief moments, it was just trying to show how brash he was, how impulsive he was, how he had no problem just acting first without thinking. Now it actually kind of showed him just kind of taking his time, being like, taking in the offer, but then thinking about it and taking in his wife's side. Even though he was pushing back on Lena, he was listening to her and being like, you know what, maybe I am more than this, right? So it's like he's like fighting that part of it, because it's like he wants more, and he knows that he should be entitled to more, but he's also like, I'm tired of this whole succession back and forth nonsense. Like, I'm trying to just chill and be rich and fruitful and whatever. So then there comes a point where Lena is actually giving birth to the baby, and we see another incident of the baby not being born, and the doctor is basically like, I've done all I can, like, the baby's not coming, we could take a blade, but it's not for sure that the baby will survive. And he's like, will the mother survive? And the doctor was like, no. So we see Lena overhearing this, and she basically just takes her robe and she goes off to Vhagar. Also, that was another scene that I missed, Lena and Daemon riding their dragons. I love Daemon's dragon. I love how serpentine it looks, how it's kind of like a snake in a sense. But then we see Vhagar. That man is a monster. That dragon is so big, like, holy shit. So we see Lena go out to Vhagar and basically be like Dracarys. And Vhagar's like, yo, what? You're telling me Dracarys right now to you? Are you crazy? Like, I even know there's a baby in there. What are you doing? What are you telling me right now? Dracarys. Yo, meaning she's yelling it bare times, because obviously she's in pain, right? Vhagar ends up doing Dracarys, and as he's about to do it, we see Daemon come out because he sees that she leaves. And she's like, Lena. And he's like, Lena. And you see that, like, as she's dying, like, he's really concerned and that he actually did really care about her. And it really just showed, to me anyway, showed his maturity as a character. So again, I'm interested to see, now that this major moment happened in his life, like his wife is gone, someone that really like kind of grounded him, what he's kind of going to be. Like, is he going to be there for the daughters? Is he going to kind of revert back to his ways and be like, yo, I'm trying to go after Rhaenyra now? Like, I am very interested to see, not only that she's gone, but he witnessed her die. So I feel like he's about to go off the rails and about to just start being the Joker again. It's to just start causing chaos for no reason. Oh, and just some character notes that I wanted to go over with the introduction of these new characters that obviously we know will carry on to be bigger characters. Aegon, we see is carefree, doesn't really care. He's like, yo, honestly, whatever. I'm here, I'm chilling. We see this guy literally masturbating out of his window, just on, over top of King's Landing, not really caring. But then we see Aemon, the younger brother. Obviously, he gets pranked and teased more, but we see that he has a more serious demeanor to him, right? And with regards to the strong boys, like Rhaenyra's two boys, they kind of played them both as both playful. They didn't really touch too much into their characters, but it was more Aegon and Aemon that I wanted to get into, and the differences in their characters. So I think that is it for this episode review. There was a lot in this episode. I know this video might have been a little long, but because this was a long episode and because this was a 10-year time jump, there was a lot of new things that they were setting up for the audience so that we would get familiarized with, that we would know, so that we would be able to follow the show going forward. A lot of stuff in this episode. So I think I went over everything. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you would be interested in content like this, House of the Dragon reviews, Andor reviews, She-Hulk reviews, Rings of Power reviews, trailer reaction, entertainment news updates, subscribe to the Brandon Cry Network. You will not regret it. I appreciate you for watching. Catch you next time.